When it comes to sampling discourse online, one big question I hear a lot about is about the legalities behind releasing a song with samples in them. Now, this isn't a video where I discuss all the specifics on sampling, fair use, licenses, clearing, whatever. But what this video focuses on is one solution that one company put forward. Today, we're talking about Tracklib. So, for those not in the know, somehow, Tracklib is an online service that allows its users to gain access to a large database of music for use in, music production. In addition, the service offers licenses for individual tracks for use in people's songs. Essentially, you can get a sample legally cleared to use in a song commercially, or at least that's how I've interpreted it. In essence, Tracklib acts as somewhat of a middleman between artist and label.
You got that sample license, $10 a piece.
Tracklib has a lot of backing behind it with big name producers. They got Pete Rock, Ninth Wonder, Zaytoven, Scott Storch, and Bob James all on board with this. Not to mention the contests they've held placements for with rappers like Redman or Dave East. They even had a few prominent YouTube producers on the bandwagon. But even with all these big names and a multitude of smaller producers behind them, is the service worth your time? Well, as someone who samples a lot in their music and has been doing so for nearly a decade, I feel I can give my opinion on this. By the way, I am not sponsored by Tracklib, so this is my honest and filtered thoughts on what I like and dislike about the service. I first used the service about 2 years ago on a free trial to enter into a placement contest for Royce da 5'9". In fact, I posted a question about 2 years ago asking if Tracklib is worth using, and that somehow is the top search result when asking if Tracklib is worth using. Of course, it's been more than 2 years at this point, so I headed into this video hoping it was better. I'm a lot more receptive towards e-digging now, but still prefer analog because I prefer my samples to sound naturally dirty rather than digitally compressed or clear. Oh yeah, this video is partially funded by an affiliate of mine, 724X. He's a rapper slash producer and part of the group Classifieds, so I figure I'd thank him here. He let me download some songs using his credits. So, is Tracklib worth using? Let's find out. God, I've always wanted to start a video like that. Some tracks allow you to download individual sounds from the song, like a guitar, bass, or drum track. This is really nice if you just want to use something specific from a song. However, you have to use 1 credit for each download of a stem track. I feel this feature would be better if when you download a track you got all the stems, or maybe songs that have multi-tracks cost more credits instead of charging for each stem. The manual search system is surprisingly in-depth. On top of being able to filter for general genres, you can focus on specific subgenres. Song key, BPM, release year, region, and price can also be specified as well. I wish there was a filter to specify track length as well, so I don't have to sit through a 8+ minute song to find something good. These are very nice features that for some people would help their workflow. The pitch function works more like a time stretch, to where if you pitch it up, it speeds up and vice versa. The loop and beat functions are a bit wonky because it probably runs on an algorithm and rounds to the nearest BPM, so it doesn't really work seamlessly. But these features are overall pretty nice to get a feeling of what your beat would sound like if you decide to download a sample. When I first used Tracklib a few years ago, their catalog was a lot smaller, and that's what initially turned me off from using it again, but now it's surprisingly good. There are soul artists like Bobby Caldwell, Isaac Hayes, and Norman Fuels. As for jazz artists, they got Sun Ra, Bob James, and Stanley Cowell. I know that's only 2 genres, but let's be real, most of the user base are boom bap producers who sample this stuff exclusively. Also, it's the genre they push the most. There are a lot more genres other than soul and jazz. How many? This much. My biggest gripe back then was the lack of any established artists, which most people would consider sampling from. Not saying the lesser known artists aren't worth sampling, but it's like almost anyone can be in the catalog, so you kinda have to sift through a lot of noise before you can get anything good. So the collection and highlights playlists are a cool concept since it allows for people to look for specific types of music faster. It makes sifting through the Tracklib catalog a lot easier since it's all curated. After downloading a track, you can actually download it again on a different device without using another credit. All the music is downloaded as a WAV file. This, on paper, makes the music on the platform the highest quality rip you can get of the track. When previewing some tracks, sometimes the tracks sound super compressed. Granted, when you download the full song, it becomes uncompressed. But I feel that the song should be shown in its full quality, or at least in MP3, in order to determine if you want to use a credit or not. Reminder, you spent money on these credits to download it. I'd personally like an accurate representation of what the sample will sound like when I download it. This becomes a bit more of a problem with the more obscure samples, which may have less than ideal quality even before compression. Then when you download the sample, it's only a marginal improvement over the preview. Now it's kinda just a guessing game on what the downloaded track will sound like. In my opinion, I feel the UI is very cluttered. The Browse tab just doesn't need to be there since it's basically every other tab in one big mess. The search feature, while helpful, is kind of obtrusive when scrolling through samples. There's also no way to collapse the sidebar, which makes it harder to look at. In my opinion, I feel it just needs to be condensed more, because it just looks like an information overload every time I scroll through the site. Now, there are 3 tiers of sample licenses you can get. The first starts at 50, the next at 500, and the highest at 1500. I think that a lot of samples are disproportionately priced based on what you'd likely use for them. Going from 50 to 500 is a big price jump, so what are you getting in exchange for paying more? In most cases, it's just for the name, since I assume the artists choose their rate for their samples. Sometimes the licensing fees are reasonable, but sometimes you get the crack smokers who think their tracks are worth $1,500, and their samples sound like this.
Giant hamburger, meatball and gravy. Giant hamburger, meatball and gravy.
To be fair, this is not a fault of Tracklib for how their artists price their songs, but I feel there should be more of a logical progression on how they're all priced. So unless if you're Drake with like fuck off money, there should be no reason to pay $1,500 for a sample, let alone $500. Hell, even the average person who would use this service is likely not going to pay $50 to license a song. I don't feel as strongly about the revenue sharing percentages since I feel it's reasonable. Most of the users are probably going to run a $50 license and use under 15 seconds of a song. The amount of percent increases based on how much sample time you use. So unless if you're like Alchemist, you should be fine. So Tracklib has 3 tiers for subscribing, with each level providing more download credits. As every month passes by, more credits will be added on top of what you already have. While the pricing isn't too bad, what happens if you cancel your membership before you use all of your credits? You lose them all. The average producer is probably not going to use all the credits in a month, and if you have a sizable amount of credits stored up, you need to use them all if you don't want to waste your money. Sorting by popularity is kind of ambiguous, and it would be nice if I could sort by view count or download count. The number of collections need to be reduced. There are collections based on hyper-specific vibes, but I feel they're just kinda too much. Also, the collections, I think, bring producers to the same samples, leading to less variety in the sampling pool. I think people are more inclined to sample something that hasn't been seen before, or not as many people have touched. I feel part of the fun of digging is the feeling that you found something unique. But when it's all curated and all the people are looking at the same thing, it doesn't feel as special. Finally, having the option to view albums easily would be nice and could replicate the feeling of listening to a whole record. For some reason, Tracklib doesn't have this feature. So I've been talking about this service from an independent producer's perspective for the most part. If you're working with artists and labels, I think this would be a useful tool in terms of getting legalities sorted out. On the other hand, that's more profit you're going to be sharing with the artist, label, sample owner, and pretty much anyone else involved in the making of the song. But this is just a part of working in an industry like this. If you're not going to use Tracklib, you'll eventually have to clear the sample if it blows up. It really only benefits labels and artists more who would have more scrutiny placed on them in terms of sample usage. Then there's the whole can of worms when it comes to selling beats on platforms like Tracktrain or BeatStars. From what I've read, to post on those platforms, you have to pay for the license. So let's talk about their Instagram and YouTube content for a second. They have a lot of videos on iconic samples used in hip-hop and a lot of other songs. What I found strange is that a majority of the samples they show off aren't on the platform. When I see those videos, I get the impression that the songs being sampled are on the platform. In reality, Aretha Franklin, Michael Jackson, King Crimson, Dorothy Ashby, or anything Disney is not on the platform. I know the branding in the videos doesn't imply those songs are on the platform, but I'm wondering why show it to me if you don't offer it. You can sample songs that are within the same genre, but if you show me King Crimson, let me use King Crimson.
Please just tell me! I need to know! Somebody's playing it! It's confusing! I don't know!
With all I've said about Tracklib, there's one dastardly little thing that kind of invalidates the whole service. Yeah, that. Or, sampling the analog way. Yeah, I know, it doesn't completely invalidate the whole service, but we basically have Tracklib for free. There are sample channels on YouTube with catalogs miles better than Tracklib. So the only real advantages you're getting with Tracklib are WAV files, being able to legally sample, and streamline digging. Quality isn't that big of an issue if you compare MP3 and WAV files. Unless Tracklib has the only good rip of a song online, there's almost no reason to use it for better audio, since, you could just EQ. A lot of producers are scared of being sued if they sample, which I think is a valid concern. Nobody wants to end up like a De La Soul or Juice WRLD. However, the average producer does not have to worry about this problem. So unless you are an already established artist, or your song blows up in a major way, sample clearance is pretty much a non-issue. Labels aren't going to try and sue you for the $1 you made off of a song. However, with the rise of AI, this might become a problem if music analysis technology gets better and labels get greedy, but as it stands now, I think you're good. So, should you use Tracklib? If you're a big producer, consistently pulling in decent numbers, or someone paranoid about the legality of sampling, go for it. But for the average producer, don't bother. Yes, I think it's a nice tool, but you're probably better off not paying for it, and the added security from sample clearance isn't that beneficial for the average artist.